Ciao! Welcome back to a new video. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a few things I want to discuss before we get into this video. The first one is, guys, Black Clover is less than 10,000 away from overtaking Dragon Ball Super. So guys, as always, please be sure to support the official release. Read it over at mangaplus.com. The next chapter officially comes out Sunday, October 25th. Of course, we're going to be live streaming. This week's live stream, we had over 270 live viewers, which is just crazy to me. Like, I can't even come to terms how crazy that is. And as always, guys, remember, reading on Manga Plus directly supports the offer of the Black Clover manga Yuki Tabata. Now, guys, I'm gonna come at you in this video with multiple angles, but I want to point out to you, I'm a Black Clover fan as well. I've watched J Cloud's video, I've watched Anime Bulls Deep's video, and I've also watched Anime Uproar's video. But I'm gonna come at you in this video from angles you wouldn't even believe existed, because apparently, unfortunately, some people don't read the manga or don't remember, because the shit that I'm gonna bring up was over a year ago. This was over almost 60 chapters ago, and a lot of people might have forgot it, but I'm gonna come at you at angles you will not believe. But before we get into that, I do want to discuss a few certain things. First of all, Black Clover second week sales or second week of Oricon sales for Black Clover Volume 26 was released. Kimetsu no Yaiba was at 2.8 million. That's just on another level. Promised Neverland, which just finished, I think this is its final volume, at 456,000. The new Jujutsu Kaisen at 247,000. Remember, Black Clover had a similar thing when its anime first came out, so Black Clover, Jujutsu Kaisen is getting the anime hype. Brand the Witch, obviously that's from Bleach, and Black Clover at 135,357. Now we're gonna have to see what the third week sales are gonna be for volume 26, but overall, I mean, it's a pretty normal, it's pretty standard. No increase, no real decrease. It's pretty much the same as volume 24. It's a little bit behind, about less than 9,000 away from how volume 25 did. But overall, nothing too major. No drop. No drop is always a good side. And as long as Black Clover continues to sell over 100,000, it ain't going nowhere. Look at We Never Learn. We Never Learn is at 68,000 on its 19th volume. It still ain't cancelled. With everything ending or cancelled, shoutouts to Act Age, Promised Neverland ending, Kimetsu no Yaiba ending, and all of Jump's new series literally not ranked, only Mashle, Akayashi Triangle, and Undead Unlock doing good. Black Clover is very, very safe for very, very many years to come. Now, obviously, we don't know how safe it is, but overall, Jump needs stuff to carry its manga when One Piece ends, when Kimetsu no Yaiba's gone. I think Kimetsu is almost one volume left, and this is the Promised Neverland's final volume. So as long as Black Clover does over 100,000 each volume, it's completely safe. On top of that, guys, the last video we published got almost 97 likes. So guys, thank you so much for smashing that like button. Click that like button. Let's get to over 100 in this video. But with that being said, guys, I think it's time we start this video. Let's start here, because I feel like this is a good place to start. Over on Twitter and YouTube, I asked you guys, let's vote. Timeline 1, Sekiro is a drunken cheater and a liar. She did not watch the book for 500 years. She lied. That is Asta's mom. And Black Clover chapter 268 is happening 16 years ago. Or Timeline 2, we believe in Sekiro. That girl is Asta's ancestor. And the events of 268 are somewhat 500 years ago. On Twitter, this vote finished at over 321 votes, with 54% of you saying that is Asta's mom, and only 46 of you saying it's not. Over on YouTube, that vote finished with over 900 votes, 64% of you believing it is not Asta's mom, and just over 36 of you believing it is Asta's mom at 36%. Because of how far these two are, not Asta's mom officially won the vote with over 1,200 votes. So that is what the community feels like. That is what the community feels like. With the community in mind, let's jump into the theories that I have. And we're going to start here. Black Clover, chapter 267. When the devil LIEBE, I'm going to call him LIEBE by now, no more AMD. When the devil LIEBE emerges, he goes, cat, 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 cat. It's been, and I want to emphasize on this word, forever since I was in the physical world. It's been forever. It's been forever. Enough emphasis. LIEBE used the term forever. This is my first case. Pretty weak case, albeit. People exaggerate. It's manga. Exaggerations aren't the end of the world. But would LIEBE really use the term forever for just 16 years? If that is Asta's mom, Asta right now is between 16, 17, depending how far you think the timeline is, which means LIEBE was in the book for 16 years or 17. Would he use the term forever? That's a question you're going to have to ask yourself. Getting into the second point, sorry. Ralph showed Xenon's memories, or the people that helped Yuno's memories, not Xenon, sorry. And in one of those memories, Yuno sees Xenon. Now, as you can see here, this is 16, again, 17 years ago, but it would be the time Asta was also abandoned at the church. So this is exactly in that time scale. As you can see from the cross in his eyes, Xenon has his devil powers, which means 16, or again, 17 years ago, Xenon, Vonica, and Dante already were setting in motion their plans to take over the Spade Kingdom and release the devil Lucifero Megacula and Xenon's devil, and obviously every other devil and the 7 devils in that gate. So Lucifer already had a plan. But as you saw in Black Clover chapter 268, Lucifer tried to take over LIEBE. Lucifer tried to take over LIEBE. Now Lucifer would have already been in contract 16 years ago with Dante. They already would have had their plans set in motion, because Yami and William were still around 16 years ago, so their plans were being ready in motion. So they already had an end goal with Dante. So why would Lucifer try to take over LIEBE if he's already in contract with Dante? Now there are some counter arguments to this, and okay, fair enough. I can see some counter arguments. So let's move on to the next part. This is something a lot of people forget, and it's referenced because of Black Clover chapter 268. LIEBE's mom, Lichita. Now, I've heard a lot of ways to pronounce her name. I've heard of Lichita, I've heard of Lichita, I've heard of Lakata, but my favorite way of pronouncing it is actually Lichita. Lichita says her body takes away life force, mana and life force. But because LIEBE is completely immune to this and he has no magic, LIEBE is unimmune, and that is why Lichita, the chance she gets, decides to adopt a devil, because it's the only person in existence that can withstand her powers. Now go to this chapter. When Zagred used his powers and it touched Yami's hand, it leached magic and life energy right out of me. Now what does this matter? Because the second panel right after, Asta throws Mimosa to the side with Raya, but gets hit. Tabata showed us this panel, but he is completely unaffected. The one spot that hit Patri almost destroyed his entire arm. Like, you can see that big bruise. Asta is holding the sword here, but when Asta was hit with the spell, he was not. Now remember, anti-magic only comes from the swords. But when Asta was hit by the spell, he didn't have his swords out. He only used the swords to cut through it and escape. But look at Asta, completely unaffected. Unaffected by magic that would drain his life energy. Now the question I'm going to give to you. Would Lichita, who can sense mana, and if you're saying this is Asta's mother, has sensed Asta to have no mana, would she give up the only person in existence before she met LIEBE for her to only be alone? Would she do that? I believe no. I believe she sensed mana from the baby, meaning that baby is not Asta. She gave it up because if it stayed with her, she would have killed her. The baby. But Asta is immune. Moving forward, this is from the manga. It's from Lumiere and Sekurai's flashback. Now, one thing I do want to point out, Japanese doesn't always translate perfectly to English, and unfortunately I can't read Japanese, but I'm going to show you someone who can. So in this chapter, Lumiere goes inventing magic items so that people who had been unfortunate regarding magic or their magical attribute would be able to use all sorts of spells. Now the anime, which translates the perfect Japanese into English, goes, yup, so that people who aren't blessed with magic. Now what does that tell you? One of the biggest questions after Black Clover chapter 268 is, even if you think this is Asta's mother, or even if you think this is Asta's ancestors, how did she get pregnant? She would kill any father. But 500 years ago, if you take what the anime's translation is, and not take to face value what Viz Media's translation is, unfortunately I don't know what the Japanese translation is, would mean that 500 years ago there were people who aren't blessed with magic, meaning they have no mana. And if they have no mana, it means they are unaffected by Lichita's curse or body, which means Asta's father, Asta's ancestor, my bad, would have had no mana. But 500 years to now, in the current storyline, there has never been someone to have no mana. No one has ever heard of this. Meaning that people are blessed with magic after the whole Elven massacre where they stole their powers. So there are now people, everybody, blessed with magic. But 500 years ago, this wasn't the case. So Asta's ancestor was just a normal dude who had no magic. Now obviously this changes depending how the Japanese translation is. I am going off the anime, so that you'll have to take that at face value. Now the final thing I want to discuss is Sekurai herself. She goes, after that, years passed before I woke up again. For some reason I had been transformed into the bird. And then she says, for 500 years I watched over Licht's grimoire. Now obviously if you take it at face value, that would mean it is impossible for that girl to be Asta's mother. It is Asta's ancestor. But if you don't take that at face value, I do have another theory. Now I'm not going to talk too much about this part because we've already talked a lot about this part. But one thing you see in this panel is that Sekurai's clothes are very much deteriorating, but they are still there. Now I did some Google searching. How long does it take for cloth to decompose? Between 20 to 200 years. Now obviously this is a world with magic. Magic changes a lot, but I don't think Sekurai's clothes had magic on them. Which means if this was only 16 years ago, which means 480 or so years after the Elf Massacre, then her clothes would be gone. Because they would have already deteriorated. Which means she only woke up a few years later, meaning that is Asta's ancestor. Now obviously at the end of the day, it's up to you what you think, how you theorize it. We are going to find out sooner or later. But that is my theory. And guys, I do just want to point out, we're now at over 7,780 subscribers. Probably going to hit 7,800 in the next 24 hours before tomorrow's upload. I'll see you then. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Guys, as always, check out the channel. Click that like button. Go check out the last video. Let's get to 100 likes on that video as well. I'll see you in the next video. My name is Steve, as always. Peace.